In the main chamber of the Supreme Council of the Galactic Alliance of Lyra, the light from countless holographic displays reflected off the solemn faces of the council members. Representatives of 12 major galaxies were present, seated on intricately designed chairs bearing the symbols of the planets they represented. At the central podium stood General Solvar Hadron, his polished armor gleaming like a torch in the darkness. His voice rang out with authority, cutting through the incessant murmur of the council. Honorable members, I have delved deeply into the nature of the species inhabiting the planet known as Earth. We cannot judge them by their current technological state or appearance. Their frailty is but a facade. It is this very frailty that makes them more dangerous than any force we've ever encountered. A council member, the representative from the galaxy Algoris, burst into laughter. His laughter echoed as if mocking every word Solvar had uttered. General Hadron, are you truly speaking of a species that has yet to surpass light speed travel? A species that, mere centuries ago, believed themselves to be the center of the universe? Surely, we are wasting our precious time here. Solvar remained composed, his piercing gaze fixed on the representative. It is precisely such underestimation that has cost us victories in the past. Humans do not need advanced technology. They possess something no other species in this universe does: extraordinary creativity and unparalleled resolve when pushed to the brink. That makes them more dangerous than any army we've ever defeated. Another member, representing the Varnes galaxy, leaned forward, eyes scrutinizing. Are you suggesting they could pose a threat on par with a hive swarm? General Hadron, that is a grave accusation, and you'll need substantial evidence to convince us. Solvar nodded and stepped toward a control panel, activating a series of holographic projections. The displays lit up with images of humanity's historical conflicts, from ancient battles on Earth to large-scale wars as they ventured into space. Observe these battles. Humanity doesn't just fight for victory, they fight for survival. When cornered, they innovate in ways no one anticipates, from leveraging natural environments to crafting weapons from seemingly useless resources. This proves that humans are a life form that defies conventional methods of control. For a few moments, the council chamber was silent. Then, scattered scoffs and quiet laughter broke the stillness. The representative from the galaxy Morven, known for his arrogance, stood and spoke with a mocking tone. So, General, what do you propose we do? Sign a peace treaty with a species oblivious to the power of galactic energy? Or bow to a planet still debating the conquest of its neighboring star systems? Solvar stood firm. I am not asking for capitulation. I am asking the Council to exercise caution. If we force them to choose between submission and annihilation, they will fight. And when they do, their ingenuity and determination will cost us dearly. The chamber erupted into a storm of arguments. Council members debated fervently, each unwilling to concede. A few sided with Solvar, but the majority dismissed his concerns as exaggeration. Finally, the council chair, seated at the center in a radiant silver robe, raised a hand for silence. Enough! Her voice was decisive. The council will decide now. Issue an ultimatum. Either Earth joins the Lyra Alliance, or it will be eradicated. We have no time to waste. Solvar descended from the podium, a heavy weight settling in his chest. His warning had been ignored. Walking down the long corridor leading out of the chamber, he paused by a large observation window. Beyond it, the vast expanse of the Lyra galaxy shimmered with cold, distant light. His mind churned with foreboding thoughts. Humans will not bow, he murmured to himself. And when they rise, we will face the consequences of our arrogance. At the United Nations Command Center on Earth, a transmission from the distant reaches of the universe was received at 3:17 Universal Time Coordinated. A shimmering blue light enveloped the room as the central screen displayed the holographic emblem of the Lyra Alliance, a radiant symbol depicting planets interconnected by luminous lines, resembling a vast cosmic network. A cold, authoritative voice echoed, speaking in an alien tongue that was instantly translated by an AI system. Humans of planet Earth, we are the Galactic Alliance of Lyra. We bring you an opportunity. Join our empire, submit unconditionally, or face total annihilation. You have 7 planetary cycles to decide. Choose wisely. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the hum of machinery. Leaders from across the globe, including the United Nations Secretary General, exchanged tense glances. Some couldn't hide their fear, while others reacted with anger. We cannot allow an alien empire to threaten our sovereignty like this, a North American representative shouted. But we can't ignore the fact that they are light years ahead of us in technology. A war with them would be suicide, countered a European delegate. As the debates escalated, in a hidden underground chamber of a military research facility, Maya Carlin, a brilliant strategist and leader of the top secret Aegis project, was deep in discussion with her team. They knew global leaders would not act decisively or quickly enough. They had been preparing for this moment for a long time. "This isn't an offer," Maya said, her eyes alight with a clarity that seemed to pierce the future. "It's a trap. They want us to submit, to become tools in a larger game between them and the hive swarm." Displayed on the screens in front of Maya were countless images and data about the Lyra Empire and the hive swarm, a terrifying parasitic species that had spread dread across galaxies. The hive had no mercy or complex strategy. They had one goal: to destroy or assimilate all life forms. "We cannot join Lyra, but we can't face them head-on either," Maya continued. "Neutrality is an illusion. We need a plan of action." Maya's team consisted of Earth's brightest minds: physicists, biologists, AI specialists, and military strategists. They had studied both dominant forces in the universe and had reached a chilling conclusion. Lyra and the Hive both saw Earth as a strategic target, though for very different reasons. Lyra sought to use humanity as a workforce and a fighting force, exploiting human creativity and adaptability to counter the Hive. On the other hand, the Hive viewed humanity merely as biological resources to be assimilated, a stepping stone toward other parts of the universe. "The question isn't what we can do to avoid the war," Maya said. "The question is how we prepare to survive when it comes." Maya and her team had devised several contingency plans. Plan Alpha focused on building solar energy-based defense systems, akin to the theoretical Helios Project. Plan Beta involved establishing colonies on the Moon and Mars to distribute Earth's population and minimize losses if the planet were attacked. But it was Plan Omega that stood out as the boldest choice. It was not merely defensive, but aimed to exploit the weaknesses of both Lyra and the Hive, pitting them against each other. Maya believed that if humanity could manipulate the conflict between these two galactic powers, it might create a chance not only to survive but to thrive. As global leaders continued their desperate arguments, Maya's team quietly initiated the first steps. They sent encrypted signals into space, disguised as messages from Lyra, to provoke the Hive into attacking Lyra's territories. At the same time, they secretly enhanced Earth's military capabilities, testing new technologies inspired by both alien civilizations. Maya understood the gamble. If Lyra discovered the deception, they wouldn't hesitate to destroy Earth. But inaction would leave humanity without any chance to counter the storm that was rapidly approaching. "We have only one path left," Maya declared, her voice unwavering. "Not submission, not flight, but resistance. If we are clever, if we are swift, then no matter how small we seem, humanity can still write its own destiny." In Earth's low orbit, a massive network of Lyra Alliance satellites silently operated, their solar panels gleaming like a metallic ring encircling the blue planet. Gigantic warships, equipped with the most advanced energy weapons, stood guard in eerie silence, prepared for an unprecedented confrontation. Earth's inhabitants, from crowded cities to remote areas, gradually became aware of the alien presence above their skies. Anxiety, fear, and uncertainty spread across the planet. Deep underground, Maya Carlin and her team of strategists monitored every signal from reconnaissance satellites. In the operations center, screens displayed detailed data on Lyra Alliance activities, including the growing presence of hive swarm fleets gathering in distant space. Just as we predicted, Maya said, her eyes fixed on a three-dimensional map showing the positions of Lyra's forces. They're using Earth as bait to draw the hive swarm here. The Gaia Trap is a plan designed solely for their benefit, with no regard for the survival of humanity. A young scientist on the team spoke up, his voice tense. But if the hive is lured here, can the Lyra Alliance even stop them? Maya turned, her gaze sharp and unyielding. They don't care about protecting Earth. Their goal is to create a collision point that weakens the hive, allowing them to regain dominance in other galaxies. But they've underestimated their enemy. The hive swarm isn't just drawn to bait. They wield destructive power far beyond Lyra's imagination. In orbit, the first signs of an attack began to appear. Radar stations detected thousands of bioenergy entities, the living warships of the hive swarm. They flooded space like an immense swarm of locusts, each ship carrying countless parasitic creatures ready to assimilate or annihilate any life they encountered. Aboard the Lyra Alliance warships, officers scrambled to issue defensive commands. Energy cannons fired blinding beams of light, targeting the hive formations. But the situation quickly deteriorated. The hive moved unpredictably, bypassing defenses with ease. The Lyra fleet, despite their arrogance and confidence, was swiftly overwhelmed. From the ground, humanity watched the battle through telescopes and satellite feeds. Images of Lyra's ships being destroyed and debris igniting as it re-entered the atmosphere created a massive fiery rain, terrifying people worldwide. In an emergency session of the International Council, Maya stood before the world's leaders. The dim lighting in the room couldn't hide the exhaustion on her face, but her voice remained firm. What's happening up there is not just a battle between distant galaxies, Maya said, pointing to the battle displayed on the large screen. It's a warning. We are no longer bystanders. Earth has become the battlefield, and we can't avoid it. An Asian leader stood, his voice filled with skepticism. But how can we, with such outdated technology, possibly stand against enemies that even the Lyra Empire cannot stop? Maya took a deep breath, her eyes shining with determination. With our creativity, resilience, and intelligence, humanity doesn't have massive warships or advanced energy weapons, but we have something they don't: the ability to turn adversity into opportunity. We won't just resist. We will become the wild card neither Lyra nor the hive can predict. In the days that followed, Maya led a global campaign to coordinate resources, from military forces to scientific research. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, salvaging every piece of technology from fallen Lyra ships to enhance Earth's defensive systems. Combat strategies emphasizing flexibility and speed were developed to counter the hive swarm. Meanwhile, Maya secretly launched a bold plan. She sent a series of decoy signals into space, encrypted to make the hive believe that Lyra's main military bases were hidden on nearby moons. The objective was to scatter the hive's forces, drawing them away from Earth to buy humanity precious time to prepare. But time was not on their side. The first hive ships began breaching the atmosphere, deploying parasitic creatures into major cities. Earth's military forces, armed with newly enhanced weapons, engaged in fierce battles to protect civilians. Though vastly outnumbered, their innovative tactics began to show effectiveness, surprising both the hive and the remnants of the Lyra Alliance still lurking in orbit. We are not fighting just to survive, Maya declared in a globally broadcast speech that inspired millions. We are fighting for self-determination, for the right to live free from oppression, whether by an empire or a swarm of parasitic creatures. This is not just humanity's battle. It is a declaration that we will never bow down. Earth was immersed in tension. The relentless days of fighting to protect the planet had pushed humanity into an unprecedented crisis. Maya Carlin, deep within the underground command base, stood before a historic decision to activate Project Helios, a plan that her entire team of scientists and military strategists had pinned all their hopes on. Helios was not an ordinary project. It was built on an audacious idea harnessing solar plasma energy, turning sunlight into a powerful weapon and defense system. For months, top scientists had been researching ways to convert solar energy into a supercompressed form, capable of creating massive magnetic shields and devastating energy beams. Maya stared at the three-dimensional design of Helios, where massive solar panels orbited a central energy core, appearing before her eyes. "This isn't just a defense system," she said to her team. "This is our future. It's the only way we will not only survive but fight back." Inside the control room, dozens of engineers and scientists worked tirelessly. Control panels glowed continuously with streams of code, the sounds of typing and electronic signals blending into the rhythm of their collective heartbeat. But even with their utmost efforts, one major challenge remained. How could Helios be activated in time as the hive swarm drew closer by the hour? Elsewhere in the galaxy, General Solvar Hadron stood before the energy reactor of a Lyra command ship. He had spent many days in anguish, unable to prevent the Supreme Council from turning Earth into bait. Realizing the failure of the Gaia trap plan, Solvar knew he had to do something to redeem himself. With the help of a group of loyal officers, he secretly began transmitting vital data about the hive swarm to Earth. This data included the biological structure of the hive's living warships, how they communicated via a neural network, and vulnerabilities within their defense systems. In an encrypted message, Solvar sent a warning to Maya. The hive swarm is not just a typical enemy. They don't operate like an army. They function as a living organism, with all their ships and creatures linked by a collective intelligence. To defeat them, you must break the central neural network. I've attached the coordinates and structure of their core in this data. Be careful and protect your planet. The information from Solvar was a beacon of light in the darkness, but it also presented a major problem. Could humanity trust someone who had once stood on the opposite side? Maya knew there was no time for doubt. She decided to integrate this data into Helios, using the system's energy to attack the hive's neural network directly. The engineers began adjusting the core of Helios so it could emit directed energy pulses, simulating frequencies similar to the hive swarm's communication signals. The idea was to disrupt the connection between the individual entities, turning them from a unified collective into separate, disorganized beings. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the battles raged on. The hive's warships relentlessly dropped parasitic creatures onto major cities, causing unimaginable chaos and terror. Earth's defense forces, though overwhelmed, still fought desperately to protect civilian areas. At a military base near New Delhi, Captain Ren Nakamura, one of humanity's elite soldiers, received a direct order from Maya: protect the Helios facility at all costs. "If we lose Helios," Ren told his team, "we lose Earth." In the final tense moments, as the hive closed in on the Helios base, Maya's team finally activated the system. A series of massive energy columns shot up from the ground, connecting to the solar satellites in orbit. Brilliant beams of light emanated from the central core, forming a magnetic shield that enveloped the Earth. But that was just the beginning. Maya and her engineers prepared for the next step: the counterattack. As the hive's warships approached, Helios began emitting energy pulses at the adjusted frequencies. These pulses disrupted the connection between the biological warships, causing them to become fragmented and more vulnerable. Humanity's counterattack quickly began to show results. Ground and space forces seized the opportunity to strike at the now disconnected enemies. The battle entered a new phase, one where hope started to flicker through the despairing darkness. In the control room, Maya watched the data from Helios. A smile briefly crossed her face as she saw the system functioning as expected. But she knew the war was far from over. Solvar had warned that the hive swarm wouldn't give up easily. Helios was only the first step, a tool for humanity to regain the initiative. "We've just made history," Maya said, her voice clear but strong. "But this is just the beginning. If we want to survive, we must be ready for what's coming next." The war reached its climax as Earth's sky blazed under the relentless attacks from the hive swarm. They had mobilized their greatest forces, deploying countless biological warships with parasitic creatures pouring down onto the surface. The hive sought not only to dominate Earth, but to make it part of themselves, a living world controlled by their collective intelligence. In this dire situation, Helios became humanity's last hope. Massive magnetic shields were activated, protecting key cities from immediate devastation. The solar satellites of Helios focused the power of solar plasma, preparing for humanity's greatest counteroffensive. Maya Carlin, the head of the project, understood that this battle was not just about saving Earth, but also about seizing an opportunity to shift the entire course of the war across the galaxy. Deep within the underground command center, Maya coordinated every resource. She knew that the information General Solvar had provided was the key to victory. Based on this data, the scientific team had pinpointed the hive swarm's main control center, a colossal command fleet hidden in the darkness of the asteroid belt near Saturn. This fleet operated like the brain of the hive, coordinating all the actions of the biological warships and parasitic creatures. If it were destroyed, the entire hive system would collapse. Maya and the scientists devised a bold strategy. They would use Helios's energy to create a directed energy pulse aimed directly at the control center. However, to achieve this, they would need to breach the hive's thick defensive barriers while evading detection from the Lyra fleet, which was lying in wait for an opportunity to return. On the surface, humanity's armies continued to fight desperately. The hive's forces had overrun the cities, turning civilian areas into brutal battlefields. But what was unexpected was the fierce resistance from Earth's soldiers, fueled by creativity and bravery. Guerrilla tactics, homemade devices, and the sacrificial actions of warriors had slowed the hive's advance, allowing Helios to continue operating. In space, the Lyra fleet had been forced to retreat after taking heavy losses from the hive's ongoing attacks. This retreat left humanity facing its nightmare alone. But Maya saw this as an opportunity. With Lyra's withdrawal, the space surrounding Earth became the primary battlefield between humanity and the hive swarm. This allowed her team to focus all efforts on destroying the hive's control center without being caught between two opposing forces. Under Maya's command, a small fleet of warships, equipped with Helios's energy pulse devices, launched into space. Their mission was to approach the hive's command fleet and transmit Helios's energy directly into their control center. But it was a suicide mission. To get close to the center, they would have to break through the most brutal layers of the hive's defenses, and time was not on their side. Meanwhile, at a secret military base, Captain Ren Nakamura and his special forces were fighting to protect Helios's coordination stations. They faced fierce attacks from the parasitic creatures while ensuring Helios's energy systems remained intact to prevent disruption of the counterattack plan. Maya, knowing how slim the chances of success were, sent a final message to all of humanity. "We stand on the brink of life and death. But I believe that with unity and courage, we can achieve what no one thought possible. Fight, not just for us, but for the future of all generations to come." As the Special Forces warships drew closer to the hive's control center, they encountered intense resistance. Massive creatures from the hive's fleet charged at them, forcing Earth's warships to fight to the last breath. But with the coordination of Helios's technology and the information from Solvar, they managed to breach the final defenses. From the command center, Maya watched every second of the battle. When the Special Forces reached their designated position, she ordered the activation of the energy pulse from Helios. A brilliant beam of light erupted from the orbiting satellites, concentrating on the hive's control center. The explosion released an immense energy pulse, destroying the entire command fleet and severing the neural connection between the hive's biological warships. Earth trembled as the hive's warships fell from the sky, losing their control. But the victory came at a great cost. The special forces of Helios were all sacrificed, and Maya, in those final moments, knew she could not escape the price of this freedom. As the energy waves spread, Maya sent one last message to Earth. Protect our planet, for we have paid with blood and hope. The future now belongs to you. Both Maya and General Solvar, who had thrown himself into a war to redeem his past mistakes, perished in the final explosion. But their sacrifices were not in vain. Earth had won, and humanity, though severely wounded, had stood strong against an enemy once thought unbeatable. The final battle ended, but it was only the beginning of a new future, one where humanity would have to find its own path in a universe full of dangers and opportunities. In the aftermath of the war, the atmosphere on Earth was far from relief. Though humanity had defeated the hive swarm, they now faced more difficult questions than ever before. Cities that once symbolized progress were now nothing but rubble. Survivors struggled to find meaning in a world forever changed by the conflict. At the International Reconstruction Center set up in the heart of New Gaia, formerly Europe, the area most devastated by the war, global leaders met in a secure, secretive room. The conference table was made from recycled alloys taken from the wreckage of warships, a clear symbol of transformation born from the ashes of the conflict. Maya Carlin was now only a memory, but her spirit lived on. The designs of Helios, the strategies she left behind, became guiding principles for the leaders that followed. Dr. Alex Strom, a scientist who had worked alongside Maya, was now a key figure in shaping the future of Earth's scientific and military direction. We cannot simply rebuild without preparing for what's next, Alex said during the meeting. The Lyra Alliance may be negotiating peace, but make no mistake, they're assessing us, testing whether we pose a potential threat. A heavy silence followed Alex's words. Everyone knew that, unspoken though it was, humanity's defeat of the hive swarm had not only saved them, but also shaken the position of the Lyra Alliance in the universe. They were no longer an invincible empire, and that made humanity, though weakened, a target to be controlled. At the same time, a message from the Lyra Alliance arrived on Earth, transmitted through a secretive automatic translation device in the command room. The Lyra representative, a cold figure named Eliera Tarsus, appeared before the camera, her regal presence concealing a hint of caution. Humanity, Eliera's voice rang out, measured yet chilling. You've proven that you are no longer just a primitive civilization. We propose a temporary peace, but remember, in the universe, strength is not the only reason for survival. Use this opportunity to prove that you are not a threat to us. The message carried not only a proposal for reconciliation, but also an implicit warning. In the room, Earth's leaders exchanged looks. They knew that to survive, they would have to do more than just rebuild. Now, Earth faced not only external challenges, but also internal conflicts. The unity forged by the war had temporarily silenced old divisions. But now, with the external threat subsiding, disagreements were beginning to surface. In the resettlement zones, people struggled to adapt to their new lives. Regions once occupied by the hive were now contested territories between competing factions. Resources were scarce, causing immense tension among the various groups. Yet, amidst the chaos, there were glimpses of hope. A new generation was rising, one that had been nurtured by Maya's spirit and the unity forged during the war. Lila Carlin, Maya's younger sister, now a passionate young leader, had stepped up to lead global reconstruction efforts. She believed that instead of focusing on defense, humanity needed to invest in expanding their vision and exploring space. The future is not here in these ashes, Lila declared in a public speech. The future is out there where the stars await. We must become a civilization that not only survives but explores. But to achieve this, Lila and young leaders like her had to face significant opposition. Conservative factions, who still believed humanity needed to huddle together and pool all resources in preparation for an inevitable war with Lyra, vehemently opposed her plans for space exploration. Meanwhile, the Lyra Alliance was not entirely quiet. Reports from observation satellites indicated shifts in their forces in nearby galaxies. Strategic analysts believed they were preparing for a new kind of Cold War confrontation with no gunfire, but just as dangerous. At a research station on the Moon, where the Luminous Horizon Project, a mission to explore and colonize new planets, was underway, a team of scientists detected a strange signal from deep space. This signal did not come from Lyra, nor from any civilization they had ever known. Dr. Alex Strom, overseeing the project, stared at the data. He knew this could be either an opportunity or a new threat. But deep down, he also understood that whatever this signal was, it would be the catalyst to push humanity into a new phase in history. The temporary peace was only the surface of a seething ocean. Would humanity unite to overcome the challenges ahead? Or would they be overwhelmed by the tides of ambition and conflict? These questions remain unanswered. But in the heart of every person, there was a belief that life on Earth, after everything, would continue to burn brightly amidst the vast universe.